Violence is just part of the human condition. I'm going to make this really, really brief. Now, if you listen to some people on YouTube, they will have you believe that violence, especially youth violence, only belongs to certain ethnic groups, and other people will have you believe that racial violence only belongs to certain ethnic groups. And since I'm not all-knowing and all-powerful, I will only speak to my experiences, and I apologize in advance if anybody is offended by me reporting my experiences and what I report in my experiences. But I'll just give you the cliff notes. I went to schools, and I went to predominantly white schools. I went to predominantly black schools. In both instances, and we may even be talking at the collegiate level too. In both instances, I've been assaulted. I've been called the N-word. And people have tried to ruin my reputation, which is also a form of violence, using words to bring about bad outcomes. I've been assumed guilty in some instances rather than innocent because of the color of my skin in both types of instances. But also in both types of instances, as people got to know me, I've eventually have been given the benefit of the doubt as well, once people knew who I was and what I'm about. So that's black controlled or dominated and white controlled or dominated. Educational settings, I've encountered violence and been the victim of violence and have had to fight people. And that's because violence is part of the human condition. Youth, when left unsupervised, will pick on other youth. They just will. It's part of their nature, and it's our job as adults, parents, educators, coaches, teachers, leaders, whatever we are, show them different. Show them different. Now I'm going to end on this one particular scenario that I really don't want to talk about, so I will be as vague as possible. I was in school. I think I was in 4th grade. And a boy hit a girl in the head with a steel ruler so hard that her head started bleeding and she needed stitches. So I was so outraged by what happened, because the girl was a friend of mine, that I attacked the boy. And I gave him, I beat him pretty bad. It wasn't pretty. He didn't end up in the hospital or anything, but he had welts all over his face. I'm not bragging or anything, that's what happened. I was on my way to being kicked out of the school, which, given the evidence that the principal had, now I think that, based on the limited information that she had, I think that was the right decision for her to come to at that point. The only thing that saved me was that the girl's mother brought the girl to the school while I was in the office, showed the principal where her daughter was injured. And her daughter, with split open forehead, split to the point where you could see the white meat underneath and you could peel back her skin, showed that to the principal. And the girl pointed out the person that I said did it. And so I didn't get kicked out. I ended up being suspended for a few days. And the boy who did that got kicked out. Now, without reciting particular ethnic groups, because I don't want to do that, I'm black. Those other 2 children were white. Yes, I put a pause in there because people tend to think that violence is just unique to particular races, and it's not. Human beings are violent. I've been jumped at schools. Once, well, 3 times technically. The third one was a snowball fight. That was funny. That's not really an assault. We were snowball fighting. So, but I've been jumped twice at schools. Well, at school. Not the jumpings that occurred outside of the school, but at school. The first time I got jumped at school, the attackers were white and Asian. Yes, deliberate pause there. The second time I got attacked at school, the attackers were black. I'm black. Because violence is part of the human condition. So I know there are people that want to go around YouTube acting like youth violence only belongs to one race. There are people that want to go around YouTube and act like historical violence only belongs to one race. There are no model minorities. There are only model individuals. Violence is something that people do to each other. Why? I think it's because of what the Bible says. We have a sin nature. We want to sin. We think sin is fun. That's why people sin. They don't care about the consequences to others when they're sinning because they want their sin. And if violence is their sin of choice, they're going to gravitate towards it. That's what I think. And again, any situation I was in when I was a child, where there was no adult supervision, doesn't matter the races. The adults leave the room, let the chaos begin. And if you want to learn how to deal with protecting yourselves, should you find yourself having to deal with that part of the human condition, you know what to do. You go to cecilryu.org, cecilryu.org, click a link, find something to fit your schedule, and come and take a class with less than a tank of gas.